And away we go. We are back. It is the Nightcap. Brought to you by Galactic Fried Chicken right here on BearcatJournal.com, www.galacticfriedchicken.com. Download the app from the website. You can then place your order. They will deliver it right to your front door, pretty much anywhere inside the 275 loop, or you have the date in Kentucky, Wednesday through Sunday, lunch and dinner, and get yourself some of that Galactic goodness. It is out of this world. The dogs are excited just to hear us talk about it. Like every night, the dogs have to listen to us do the Nightcap, and they've not heard it enough lately. So as soon as I went into the read, they got very excited to hear about Galactic Fried Chicken. That's how good it is. That's what
Lost their minds.
Yeah, they went crazy at the thought of Galactic Fried Chicken. Hey, I know it's good, right? You know the Galactic sauce, right, Tiger? Yeah, you do, buddy. Good boy.
Before we get to talking about Talkin, what was the last bowl game that we discussed?
I don't know. Friday? Did we talk about any Friday?
We didn't do a show Friday, I don't believe.
Thursday?
So Thursday, yeah. The Pop-Tarts Bowl was just finishing.
Yeah.
So Arizona beats Oklahoma.
Good for the Big 12.
In the Alamo Bowl.
Big 12 over SEC game.
Iowa State loses to Memphis in the Liberty Bowl.
That's a tough ask to have to play Memphis at home in a bowl game that they really want to win. They did a good job, though. I watched some of that. Abu Sama, the running back for Iowa State, that's just been torching people, could never really get going. Like that was Memphis played really well in that one.
Well, and how much is Memphis out to get all of the Big 12? Like, hey,
yeah,
remember us?
Yeah, we're right here.
We're sure stuck here in the American.
I'm sure that was played up to the nines leading up to that bowl game.
If it wasn't, then the coach should be fired.
Right. Well, and clearly it was because they played like their hair was on fire, and Iowa State did not match their intensity. How about that?
And then, of course, you had Washington defeating Texas last night, 37-31, to advance to the CFP final, the championship.
Two great games yesterday. Two great games. My best friend's wife is a diehard Michigan fan. Her mom is a diehard Michigan fan. Her nephew is a diehard Michigan fan. I was at a party with them. It was really weird being somewhere where like the people there were deeply invested and I just didn't care either way. You know what I mean? Like usually if you're at a watch party or you're at an event, you have some kind of like rooting preference. I didn't have any. And watching them like live and die on every play like you do if your team is playing, it was funny to like be an outside observer for that. Because mostly I was just like hanging out by the food.
Fair enough. Yeah, I didn't take in a second of that game. I just didn't care. For me, it was just spending time with family this weekend and then getting back home and settling in. And
yeah, that was just our family. Like we went over there, had dinner, hung out, like, you know, generally like best friend things. Like that's what you do. You go do that. New Year's Eve was awesome, though. You want to hear about the Fish concert?
Nope, sure don't. But as for any big games, Saturday, we did do a Friday show.
We did.
With Cincinnati playing. But Saturday in
we
basketball,
talked about it. There's six games with the ranked opponent in the Big 12 on Saturday.
Well, this this past Saturday.
Okay.
Ohio State did beat West Virginia 78-75 in overtime. Outside of that, there weren't any big games on Sunday. Nothing to talk about. I mean, New Hampshire Monmouth and SC State. Ugh. Monday, again, not much there. Baylor wins pretty big over Cornell tonight. And Kansas State beat Chicago State, as Chicago State will travel to Oklahoma State tomorrow. And that should round out the non-conference play for the Big 12.
Yeah. Yep. Talking about Talkin, we did have media with Wes today. I'll put you over here in the driver's seat, and we can get through that and get out of here because my dogs are
maniacs.
Well, also, Kelsey at school
we just
tomorrow.
Finished, and we finished the show. Yeah.
Kelsey at school tomorrow. She's in bed. So this has not been the norm for 3 weeks. Yep. And they're both kind of like, what the hell is happening? Pay attention to us.
Well, it was a short press conference. Almost a missed press conference, as Wes totally forgot about it and had to sprint down to the press conference. That might have been the highlight of the press conference.
That was so funny.
Actually, as he didn't want to cross the court as the women's team was out on the court and practicing, and he didn't want to interrupt anything going on there. So he had to go the long way to get to the press conference, as he claims it was a 45-second sprint. I don't believe him.
That's pretty far from the 6th floor of the offices all the way to the press room. Yeah, that took longer than 45 seconds. I would take the over and place a significant amount of money on 45 and a half seconds.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Outside of that, it was a lot of BYU talk. BYU being the best shooting team in the country. He made sure to emphasize that it wasn't just coach speak. It wasn't just something that you say because you have an opponent that you want to give respect to. It was the fact that they are statistically the best shooting team in the country, especially behind the arc.
And one of the 2 best rebounding teams in the country. So not only do they shoot it at an elite clip, they get most of the rebounds when they miss. That's why they're beating the piss out of almost everybody they've played.
If you want more details on how good they are and why they are so good, you can check out the BBP and George in the Jungle crossover show from tonight, where Brent has an awful lot of stats there. But this team is physical, old, and tough, as Coach said in the presser. Nothing that we didn't already know in that regard. But he did say that he wanted to make sure, and this came after one of your questions that he kind of shut down, but he just wants to make sure that they're only taking one game at a time. They're not looking ahead to anyone. He, at one point, whether he did this for emphasis or whether he genuinely did not know what day it was, he made sure to point
it's the holidays. I don't know what day it is.
Fair. I'm with you. I've had to look several times just based on if a game had played or not. As I'm looking at the schedule, I have no idea what day it is as I'm scrolling through. I'm just looking to see if there's a final score.
You know what's wild? You would think my brain would say today it's Monday, right? My brain has thought it was Wednesday all day. Like it spun a wheel and it landed on Wednesday. And I've had to remind myself it's not Wednesday, it's Tuesday all day.
I thought it was interesting that he said that they're trying to learn from literally every game. They're trying to make sure that even on the games that they are winning handily, the games that they're supposed to win handily, they're making sure to try and take away not just one or two things, but they're making sure. Right. And sounds like, and I'm sure, honestly, the way that these games have gone, I'm sure that there's plenty on tape to learn from.
The last month, yeah, you got a lot of learning to do.
A lot of talk on Mike Rayfelt in this presser, as he went on to say that he's a mad scientist. He also made mention of the fact that Mick Cronin has made the same references to Mike Rayfeld as well. But just a very large hat tip from Coach Wes Miller to Coach Mike Rayfeld in just the regard that he's going to do whatever he can do in the time in between games to get this team ready to play in this Big 12 slate.
I had to ask. Why don't you ask the tough questions, Chad? Okay, Wes, tell me about your thoughts on the first 6 games of the Big 12 schedule, where you play 3 of the best teams in the country on the road and 3 really, really, really good teams at home. Give me your thoughts on that. He doesn't have any because that's not how coaches' brains work. That's not how they're wired when the season starts. Like, you have to go. You know what? It would be funny, Aaron. This is my favorite part of this. If he would have went in detail about those 6 games and then they lose to BYU, you know what the lowest common denominator fan would say? He should have been just worrying about BYU, but instead he's thinking about all the games that they got coming up against good teams.
Yeah. The last note I had.
The point being, when you're a coach, you can't win for losing. Like it's there's never a right answer.
Well, you're never going.
Somebody's.
You're never going to win for losing. Not as a coach.
You know what I mean.
People
people turn on everybody at every. I was going back through some stuff today. There was a conversation on the board that we were having. I remember back to the beginning of Mick's tenure, where year 2 they showed a lot of progress all the way to the start of February, and then they lost 7 games in a row to end the season. And then the year after that, they fixed a lot of their problems in the out of conference. And then I think they were 8-5, 8-6 heading into like the final stretch of Big East games. And they lost the final 5 games of that season. And there was this narrative, mixed teams don't get better. Mick can't coach late in the season. Like, this happens every time there's adversity. It's kind of what we talked about on the BBP tonight. There's a talking point or something that everybody clings on to. You know what it is this year? I already know what it is this year. You can't play 2 bigs. You know who played 2 bigs almost exclusively last year, Aaron?
No.
It was this team from Connecticut. They had a pretty good season, and their head coach texted me a night after they won the national championship. UConn played 2 bigs. Purdue often plays 2 bigs. Like, it is not this like thing that Kelvin Sampson played 2 bigs all year last year. Jarris Walker was a freak, but he was a big. He was 6'9", 240 pounds. Like, he was a big. He wasn't a small. Let's put it that way. It can be done. Is it, not the way that like a lot of teams are playing right now? Sure. But this default to they can't defend with 2 bigs on the floor. Well, guess what? A lot of the times it has nothing to do with the big. It's Simas Lukosius getting beat or TJ Frederick getting beat or one of the point guards getting beat. Well, they can't guard with 2 bigs on the floor. That doesn't have anything to do with it. Your guards just got dusted off the dribble.
Yeah.
So it's funny to watch the narrative as every season develops. Now, everybody's a genius, a basketball expert because they know the phrase, you can't play 2 bigs in today's college basketball. When North Carolina won a championship, 2 years ago?
2 or 3, yeah.
They always play 2 bigs. Almost always.
It was 2 years ago. 2 years ago.
Yeah. And then last year it was UConn, who also plays 2 bigs. One of the best teams in the country last year, Arizona. You know what they did? They played 2 bigs. So, like, it's not this, like, cliche. Everybody hangs on to, like, the the low hanging
fruit. Yep.
And guess what? That's it. It doesn't causation and correlation, something like that.
The only other thing I have is that this team, he mentioned the team has not yet embraced the winning things. That the team is not quite there yet. Did not go into any type of detail as to what those winning things are that this team has not yet embraced. But there were several references.
Coming out in the first half and playing like they did against Evansville. Like not dialing in immediately at all times. That's what he's talking about. You go into that first half against Evansville and they get wherever the hell they want on the floor for 20 minutes. That's what he's talking about. Dial it in or you're going to get your ass kicked.
We'll see if he's able to establish that winning culture that he's talking about as they open up that slate here on the 6th. BYU coming quick.
You know what I don't want to find out, Aaron? It's what I'm afraid we're going to find out. How much do these guys hate losing? Everybody likes winning. The way you figure it out is you have a bunch of guys that hate losing. And they pull you through tough times. We're going to see here in the next 6 games. That's the nightcap. We'll see you next time. Brought to you by Galactic Fried Chicken, right here on BearcatJournal.com.
See ya.